strains between the Reserve Bank of India and central government have been festering for some time now. On Friday, RBI Deputy Governor Viral Acharya spoke about autonomy of the RBI. Let's talk to Ravi Krishnan on the implications of this. Ravi, what do you think could be the trigger of the speech on Friday?
Well, as you said, the issues have been festering for some time. They are not new. Recently, I can think of 3 to 4 issues which have kind of widened these strains. One, of course, is the dilution of preventive corrective action norms, which the RBI has resisted and which the government wants because they think that then banks can provide more liquidity to the NBFC sector. Secondly, the government wants to set up an independent payments regulator. It's in a draft proposal now, but the RBI has come out very strongly against that. Then third, RBI's February 12th circular, which will have more stringent default disclosure. So there are talks that the government also wants to kind of dilute that, especially in connection with the power sector, for example. And then of course there is a issue of reserves. The government thinks that RBI has excess reserves and it wants some of these reserves to be moved to the treasury so that it will help with the fiscal deficit.
Oh, sure. So do you think the strains that we talk about between the central governments and the RBI is a very India-centric problem, or is this a global phenomenon?
Not necessarily. Across the globe also we are seeing other instances. For example, US President Donald Trump is not very happy with the US Federal Reserve hiking interest rates. I think he has said publicly that he maybe regrets appointing Jerome Powell. Then again, take the case of Turkey, where the Turkish president appointed his son-in-law as finance minister and who interfered constantly with the central bank, which led to the overheating of the Turkish economy. So these are issues around the world, where central bank and government relations, there are typically strains. But what evidence shows us is that, at least empirical evidence shows us that typically markets prefer that central banks be independent.
All right. So Ravi, do you think that, coming to the India-specific problem, do you think RBI is trying to mask its incompetency in some way by raising this autonomy issue?
See, I think a certain section of the committee is saying that, this public outburst by Viral Acharya is the RBI trying to mask its own incompetency, and why can't they solve it behind closed doors? Right. Well, my response to that is maybe they did try discussing it behind closed doors and it is not working. As I said earlier, markets prefer that, central banks be independent, right? And even if you take, if you want to point out to something like a Punjab National Bank fraud, where, it is very difficult to say that the central banker is responsible, for fraud happening. And remember that in case of public sector banks, at least, RBI is responsible only for prudential regulations. It is not responsible for governance. The government is responsible for that. So to say that this is the RBI trying to, mask its own incompetency, I think that's an exaggeration.
So evidence suggests that markets prefer an independent RBI. That's the bottom line.